that book is about men, uh, and um, and you know, making them the center of life, which so many of us are. You know, awkward black men in the center of our own lives. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said it all right there. It's not just giving those voices, but you let us, you remind us of our awkwardness, our own personal
Hmm.
awkwardness. It's not so much that we could read those stories and say, "Oh yeah, that's entertaining," or "That was good," but again, it's visceral. It reminds us of those moments when we were fully conscious of our feeling awkward, but also a reminder that even today, in every day, we walk in a space of awkwardness that I
Hmm.
think that it's a shared human quality.
Exactly.
Yeah, and uh, so let's talk a little about these books. The characters are amazing. They're empathetic. They're a, a little insane, you know,
Hmm.
just just and but still very human. And I say insane, but because they're so brilliant in how they see themselves and how they see lives, and in their unconscious way, they tie together, the humanity of those around them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's so important for us to have characters who we know, who are us, that do things that you don't really want to say out loud. You say, "Oh my God, I don't want anybody to know that I feel like that or think like that or I'm weak in that way or whatever." But it's just an idea. A guy who falls in love with a woman who tells him from the beginning she's going to leave him. She leaves him and he falls apart. And for the next 40 years, he's trying to get himself back together again. Or just a young black guy who's gets a job at an insurance company in New York, in Wall Street, and he gets mistreated probably because of being black, but not only because of that, also partially because he's a little awkward. He's a little bit of a misanthrope. He's a little bit of somebody that doesn't really understand how to talk to people. Um, you have those characters, or a guy who's a little bit overweight, but now he starts losing weight and he's happy until he realizes it's cancer. But then, well, he's happy because the cancer is not that bad, and it's just, it goes on and on and on. And those are the people that those are the stories that, well, I think we need to hear them, but also I think that we want to hear them. We want to hear, like, it doesn't have to be Easy Rollins or Shaft or, some incredibly, powerful person who frees all the slaves, or, you know what I mean? It's just a regular everyday guy uh,
So
who,
we need to know them, and we want to know them. My question is, how do you know them?
no, I think we all know them. Like, I think that we all know our failings and the failings of the people who we love,
Mhm.
maybe our brothers or our good friends, or somebody maybe like you're helping, maybe you're like an Alcoholics Anonymous, and you're mentoring somebody. I mean, there are all these people that we know and we meet. It's just we don't meet black men like this in literature,
Right.
as a rule. Sometimes we do, but as a rule we don't. And so I just wanted to write, and especially I have these stories, 17 stories of all kinds of guys, like the hip hop magister who ends up running a biotech organization which has figured out how to make people immortal. You know, I mean, you just can't, like, a hip hop guy. So, well, yeah, he knows how to sell stuff. I mean, that's the stuff that I just love it. And I wanted to tell stories about it.
Is there a way at all for you to decide first? How do you come to your process of selecting? I would assume that you have 17 stories and you decided which of the 17s that were going to go into the book, because knowing
Well, I
how
had 40, and I decided which 17 would go in the book. Yeah, I have about 40, maybe 50 short stories that I've written over the last 30 some years, that I could put out there in the world.
And what happens to the rest of them? Because I'm ready to read the next one. I'm ready for the next set of stories.
Well, at some point, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, right now, I'm just, trying to see how this book does. The book seems to be doing pretty well. I mean, getting the distinguished medal, of lifetime achievement from the National Book Awards has helped people pay more attention to me, and
Mhm.
so uh, you know.
Well, this is another one of those moments. If memory serves well, I think then President Clinton was asked who was his favorite mystery writer, and he said
Mhm.
Walter Mosley.
That's true.
And that sort of catapulted, sent you onto another level. This recent award is doing the same. So it sounds like your career just is continuing to write. I remember one time in speaking with you, you said that you had a writing pattern. You start at 6 in the morning, you write for 3 hours, and then you're done for the day. But you do it faithfully. You do it daily. Are you still holding that routine?
Yep, absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing. So, so these voices in these books, you're always turning the lens. You're always turning the lens into the character, out towards the reader, and then out to the relationships that the readers have. Your characters touch everyone. Um, Again, I'm almost just amazed, almost in awe. No, I'm in awe, Walter, of how well you're able to tell these stories. Because yes, it's true that these characters haven't had voice in our literature. And along with that, from our humanity, our overall humanity, you ask questions, you make us look at ourselves in ways that I don't often find in other books. um, there's a question in there somewhere. There's a question, how do you do that? What's next? You're always engaging us and always asking the reader to provide their own answers. A lot of the stories um, uh, leave room for more, a continuation of the story. But you don't provide that. You say, here I am in this moment, and from here I continue. And then you go into another story that's just another trip, another path. Um,
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, listen, it's true that if you're going to tell a story, it's not going to be over unless it's a tragedy and everybody dies. Uh, but unless you're going to go to that level, no matter what, well, they got married at the end and said, well, did the marriage last? Did they have children? Uh, do they fall into old patterns? You always have to ask those questions. And for me, talking about the awkward black man, what I think I realized that I was trying to do in the stories, they get into bad situations and don't know how to get out of them. And I think that this is the most common thing in the lives of everyone. We get into a situation and we don't know how to let it go. We don't know how to say, well, okay, fine. I've done that. I understand it. I'm moving on. And because that's who we are. We don't have this infinite amount of ability to make these choices, to move here, to go there, to think this, to do that. And I think that once you see how deeply, the longest thing that you have somebody stuck in an old pattern, it's 1,000 years later
hmm.
when he understands what he did. I mean, that's really cool. I really like that. But you have, the guy working for the insurance company. You have the guy who refuses to be called African American because, he might be a slave American. He might be a Namibian American. He doesn't know, but he's not an African American. He knows that's not what he is.
Hmm.
I mean, and just knowing that, all people say, listen, all you have to do is call you an African American and we'll give you a great job and do wonderful things with you. And he says, no, I can't do that because that's a lie. And you might look at him, his ex-wife looks at him, so why don't you just say yes? It's not going to hurt you. Everybody else says it. Jesse Jackson says it. What's wrong with you? And But he no, he won't do it. And those people, those situations, those problems, uh, is I think a real way to understand ourselves in this crazy world.
What is it that you would want the reader to know about themselves? What is it that you would want readers to know about their humanity? Because you're always probing, you're always pushing the reader to look for more, to look beyond the story, to look into themselves.
Well, I do ask for them to look further, but I don't know. I just say to look beyond, where you are right now, deeper into your humanity. I don't know what your humanity is. It's different than something I know or understand, but you might have a different idea about one of these characters. You might say, oh, well, okay. Um, these are people who have ideas and follow them through to the end, no matter what. No matter what they encounter along the way. And so if somebody reads my book and sees that, then they will think things about themselves that I'm unaware of. But I think that, but if people just do think, then I'm happy.
Mm, mm, amazing. So is there a favorite story? Is there one story? Is there a story that resonates for you more than the others?
Hmm. I'm gonna go get a copy of the book and look and make sure that I say the right things. Um, I have it sitting over here. Uh, I kind of like the story Local Hero
Mm,
because it's a character who is something and he doesn't know the truth of what he is. And I think that that's really kind of wonderful,
mm,
where you don't know what your absolute bloodline is, and you don't know um, who you are in relation to your incredibly dynamic cousin, uh,
mm,
but you become that thing, and I like that one. I like that, and I like Otis uh, because it's kind of there's a one kid who's a genius of autism in a certain kind of way, and another kid who has incredible violence in his heart, but they understand each other more than like you would never expect these two kids to be friends, but they love each other in a very important way. So that and then I love the little story Haunted, where
mm.
there's a black writer of short stories who's written 1,000 short stories, and 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 none of them have ever been published. And with the rejection of his 1,000th story, his girlfriend is leaving him right at that minute because he's so angry and she can't take it anymore. And then he hates it so much, looking at a picture of the guy who rejected him, that he has a heart attack and he falls dead. But he falls dead hating this guy so much that his spirit won't leave the realm, and his spirit is stuck to that guy. And for me to write a story about how bad hatred is for us or for one, and how there has to be a moment of forgiveness on all sides before you can be free, of the haunting of that situation. I really enjoyed writing that story too. I mean, I like all of them, but those three, make me really kind of happy.
Well, you've named two of my favorites. I love Otis, and I'll
Hmm.
tell you what I loved about Otis, and that is that in just about every one of your stories, you're going to take the reader to an unexpected place. And in Otis, it comes almost at the very end, and it's just an amazing revelation. And I tell you that when they were at the I don't want to give stories away, but when they were at
Hmm.
the funeral, and in that moment, I got teary eyed. I cried, I
Hmm.
cried because there was such redemption there. There was
Hmm.
such connection there, not just for Otis, not just for the young man who was the genius, but also for the mother. It
Hmm.
was an amazing moment, and that and how you come uh, to from rejection letters to redemption, in one story. In the last one, what was the name of the last one? The in
Hmm.
haunted. Just an amazing skill, Walter. Very
Well,
well
thank
put.
you. It's
Yeah.
so much fun to write the stories, and to be able to talk about the world that we live in, because so often, black men in literature and also in film, also in music for that matter, have to have a certain kind of character. Um, and some people have that character. Some people are Tupac Shakur, but most people aren't. And it's okay. If you're a little, kind of, awkward and off, but you just have that beautiful, one thing about you, and you follow it. I mean, that I think it really, I mean, it's really important. I think for us to live all of our stories, and to appreciate all of it, rather than creating a pecking order,
Mm.
on some arbitrary human values.
That's a great point, Walter, because in reading the stories, I saw that one can live all of one's stories.
Hmm.
And it need not be just this particular story, but as we sort of move through our lives, there are many moments of awkwardness that bring us to moments of potential redemption,
Hmm.
and I thought that was just amazing. The In terms of books, you have, I think, about 50. This is your 53rd book. Am I right about that?
Yeah, something like that. It's probably closer to 57,
Mm,
actually, but
amazing, amazing. The So each one sort of reflects, your growth and your trajectory, your thinking, your worldview. Where this is the most recent, but I remember being moved by books like, certainly the Easy Rawlings and the Leonard McGill series, but Blue Light,
Mm.
Killing Johnny Fry, you know, great books, great stories. Where does this book fall sort of in that trajectory, or the trajectory of your work? I know that's a kind of a tough question, but they say they love them all, right? Writers say, "Well, I love them all," but more than that.
This is a true collection of short stories. I've written other collections of short stories, but they usually go toward making a whole novel between the stories, like about Socrates Fortlow, or the book Futureland, or the Tempest Tales. Uh, the stories follow one after another, and reveal a larger story. And this is just a collection of short stories. They have, on the whole, have nothing to do with each other. One or two might, but I think this is a real, like, for me. Well, I put this book together about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, and then started the process of getting it published. But that being said, I think that it follows the lines of Black Lives Matter,
Mm,
in a way that, in order to say something matters, it has to have importance. It has value. It has worth that may not be apparent.
mm,
And so I'm not talking about somebody getting shot, or choked, or whatever, but. And I'm not really, to some degree or another, I'm talking about white people, but not that much. Mostly, I'm just talking about looking into ourselves and see how much value there is in our quirky lives, in
mm,
our in lives that don't seem to fit in lives that other people don't even know are happening,
mm.
in lives that are definitely not celebrated, but worth celebration.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah. Go on.
No, just to sort of mirror what you just said. It's not just, seeing the value, but also what value we ourselves hold
Hmm.
for our lives,
Hmm.
and how, how we weigh that against or into the larger world. That is our always, driving motivator. Who am I? Where am I? And what is my function? What is my purpose? What value do I bring to the world? So for me, anyway, your stories touch that question, that deep-seated question that we often don't address, but is always running us, always driving us.
Right. And sometimes the questions aren't asked. I think that people who have, most people have these kind of lives. There's something weird, there's something
Yes,
strange, there's something
that's right.
unusual, there's something, they're in trouble, but they're in trouble because they did something wrong, but they did something wrong because of some other reason. And then but like I said, in most books, books that exclude Black people, and books that become very, very, very political and very serious. Wonderful books, like Black Boy,
Mhm.
or Invisible Man, and those are they're great. And there's parts of Invisible Man that are kind of awkward, which I kind of love. But I mean, just to talk about a life without having it to rise to some other high level of Black politics or answers or racism. It's just about Black
Mhm.
people trying to get from here to there, and it might take 3 steps, and it might take 30 years to get from here to there.
Well
and
said.
and many of us I think recognize that we've worked and worked and worked, but the whole time we've been going in a circle,
Mm,
and
mm.
to break out of that circle becomes an extraordinary moment.
Oh, oh, yeah, and that's always the challenge. Yes. So is there anything that, in closing, Walter, is there anything that you would like the viewers, the listeners, to know about you or your work or what you see as next for you? Because I promise you, we're all waiting for the next vision.
Well, the next book is coming out in January, and that's going to be Blood Grove. It's a new Easy Rawlins novel,
Oh, good, good.
1969, and I'm very excited about that. It's all finished and sent in and stuff like that. And I guess there are supposed to be other books. I just haven't started writing them yet because I've been doing Hollywood stuff.
That's
Uh,
right. That's right. You have a minute to share with you your Hollywood work. You lived in New York once, and then you
I still
moved.
do live
You
in New
still
York.
do? You
Yeah,
still good for
yeah.
you.
I got my place. I'm just. I was here working on Snowfall. John Singleton's Snowfall, and then like just at the very end of the writers' room, COVID struck,
Mm,
and it hit New York, harder than anywhere. So the
right.
idea of kind of getting up and moving back to New York, it didn't seem to make sense. So I've just been here, waiting for that kind of that to lift. I don't mind. It's beautiful here, but
Mhm.
um, so and I worked on Snowfall, and I will again. I've written a couple of episodes. I do my novel. Um, uh, uh, the Last Days of Ptolemy Gray,
Mhm.
which is about Black people and dementia, Black male hero and dementia, and Sam Jackson is really deeply involved in that, wants to star in it, and I would love for
Mm.
him to. That would be great.
That'd be amazing.
Uh, hmm?
That would be amazing.
And so I've written the first couple of episodes. We have it out to a production company is presenting it to a studio, so we're going to see about that. Uh, Also, I've been working with this a wonderful director, Taylor Hackford, who did Ray and Officer and a Gentleman and other great films. And we would really like to do another mini series, 6 to 8 episodes about Louis Armstrong.
Mm.
And
Nice.
so I'm working on that stuff. And also, there's maybe an Easy Rollins series in the offing, and I once wrote a book called Archibald Lawless, Anarchist at Large, and that book is waiting to get to do something. And so
There's only one word, Walter. Amazing. Well done. We hold you in great esteem. I speak for the collective we. We hold you in
We.
great, that's right. We hold you in great esteem.
Well, thank you, Max, and I hold you in the same esteem. So
Thank you
great.
so much. All right, Walter. Thank you all. Thank you for this moment, Walter. Congratulations again on your most recent book, The Awkward Black Man. It is absolutely a must read, and I promise you that you will have to read it twice over and
Mm.
again because there is so much humanity in it. You'll love it. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Max Rodriguez. This is the Author Channel with Walter Mosely, and we'll see you soon.